Welcome to I Love My HBCU ? The podcast where we express our undeniable love for HBCUs, but where we are also not afraid to address a few tough questions. So, sit back, learn a little, love a lot, and rep your HBCU. It's another episode, and it is another reason to love your HBCU. This is an in-house conversation today. Those of you who are not new to our podcast, you know me, hopefully, but you should also know Amari.
Hello,
Amari,
hello.
do you feel like introducing yourself?
Of course, yeah, always. I want to make sure that people know who I am. I don't assume anybody knows me. I've made that mistake before. My name is Amari Jangha. I am a guest currently on Love My HBCU ? I work with Dr. Tosin. I was a student at Boise State University. I'm a graduate of spring 2023, and I'm happy to be here.
That is one. I wasn't expecting all of that in your
Me either.
introduction, but that's what this episode. I love it. This episode is going to be the whole. Hey, it's just going to come out. So it's our summer episode series. We're winding down. Our summer episodes are almost over, and this one is interesting because our Gen Nexters are the ones that picked our topics for us all summer long. So every summer episode you have heard, it's been, hey, we want to hear about this. Why don't you guys talk about this? And our guests have been absolutely amazing. Kind of just, rolling with that and delving with it. So we are each other's guests today for this particular
Yes,
episode.
indeed.
And I'm trying to even understand how this particular topic is supposed to be framed, but it's the rankings. Literally, initially they said, "Hey, Dr. T, rank HBCUs." I'm like, I can't do that. I think they're all good. I think they all serve an amazing purpose. And I also think every last HBCU brings value to the table. So I can't rank it. And so they did one. I was about to say they did one better. I don't know if it's better, but hey, they said since you don't want to rank it, give us your thoughts on the latest rankings that have come out from Forbes as well as LinkedIn. And the big conversation that we've had in-house and that you and I are about to delve into, Amari, is actually the rankings from LinkedIn News. And since I have the article staring in my face, since the article is really short, I want to read it or parts of it, not the whole thing. So HBCUs play an important role in the higher education landscape. Duh. They make up just 3% of US colleges, yet account for nearly 1/5 of all Black college graduates. Let that sink in. So, which HBCUs best set students up for long-term career success? So that's what the LinkedIn News what's it called rankings is for top HBCUs for long-term career success. They dug, not us, they dug, and Emily Brock is the person that is being credited as the writer of this particular article. They dug into the data, ranking schools based on factors like how quickly grads land full-time roles and rise into leadership position. Howard University, and we all know Howard University's been in the news for quite a few things lately. We'll talk about that if we get to it. But Howard University takes the number one spot again this year. Its notable alumni, of course, include U.S. vice presidents and Supreme Court justices. One that actually comes to mind is VP Kamala Harris, of course. I'm a Howard alum. Morehouse College and Spelman follow at second and third, while Clark Atlanta University and Prairie View A&M round out the top 10. Of course, if you go to LinkedIn News on linkedin.com, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But I want to actually list out the 10 that they give. So Howard University is number 1, Morehouse College number 2, Spelman College number 3, Hampton University number 4, North Carolina A&T State University number 5, Tuskegee University, another institution that's been in the news lately, Florida A&M University, Xavier University of Louisiana, Clark Atlanta University, Prairie View A&M University. There's one university, I've got to mention it. There's one university that we don't see on that list, and it's the university that Amari is an alum of. it's not on that list that we're seeing, but if you toggle on over to the Forbes top HBCUs, where they split theirs into top 10 private HBCUs and top 10 public HBCUs, Morgan State University, where Amari Jangha is an alum, is number 4. Okay, let's reel this in. Let's reel this in because the
Yeah.
conversation they wanted us to have is preparedness for career success, and then they're looking at the top HBCUs. So, do you think administrators and presidents, leadership of universities, just asking this as an opinion, so don't come for him, people. Don't come for him. It's an opinion question. Do you think leadership at different institutions actually care about these rankings?
I don't think they care publicly because I think it would cause people to understand that they're being influenced by these rankings in terms of decisions they're making. But I think that privately they do have some, I would say, maybe skin in the game. I have a dream, I guess you could say, of the presidents in like some big group chat. Obviously, not realistically, but they get
That would
together
be
at a confounders like
wait.
group, and they're all like, "Oh, we beat you this time." That kind of camaraderie of being able to have like bragging rights per se with other presidents. I think that kind of happens, not as much the public. We're number one kind of thing.
Amari, you said it as a joke. I actually would love to see the
Oh,
presidents of all HBCUs in the same group chat. Now, some of us know who these presidents are. They're humans,
right.
they're very
Yeah.
human. And so we've gotten to learn some of their personalities. Some of them are really, really fun. Some of them are really, really hip. Some of them are really, really stuffy. Some of them don't even check for you. Like they like if you're not at a certain level, they don't want to talk to you. And this is, I'm sorry, this is just, my experience with some of them. But I'd be curious. I would want to be a fly on the wall. I would want to
Oh,
be
desperately.
freaking Claude or Chat GPT in their group chat. So I know you said it as a joke. Come on, presidents, get a
Make
group
it
chat
happen.
going. Make it
Somebody
happen.
send
That
the
would be,
invite. It takes
somebody
one invite
send
to
it.
make it happen.
It just takes one. I would love, love, love that. You said that you don't think they care publicly, but you think they care privately. Can I take a spin on that?
Absolutely.
So initially, I was going to say I agree. I was going to say that initially. But my spin on that is this: I don't know if I have an opinion on whether or not they actually care about the rankings. I will say this: I will say that for those who publicly say they don't care about the rankings, I actually don't think they have a choice but to care about the rankings. And it's not because of them, it's because of us, i.e., the public,
Mm-hmm.
who, when we
Mm-hmm.
are looking at our choices of where to go to, where to send my child, where for whatever a subject matter, or where to send my child for just a listen. LinkedIn just called theirs for career readiness. If I want to heighten my choices of my child being more career ready and career successful, what's the first thing I'm going to do? Google.com. Today in 2026, it's probably ChatGPT or Claude or whichever of these services you use. I'm just going to go with Google.com. Tell me, what are the top 10, imagining that or assuming that it's only HBCUs that are on the list? What are the top 10 HBCUs to send little Amari Jangha to study engineering or business? And we're going to start with that list first. So I've heard a number of presidents make the statement that those what do those rankings mean anyway? And I know where they're coming from when they say that. What do those rankings mean anyway? Because are you going to tell me Morgan State University isn't preparing its students for career readiness? Most of the students I've come across, they're in jobs. Coppin, Bowie. I can list a number of North Carolina Central University. I can list a number of institutions. And so I do get what the presidents and leadership are saying when they make that statement, but I think they actually do have to care about the rankings. And again, not because of them, but because of the public. The public is
Yeah.
going to go looking for where you rank on somebody's reputable list in order for X, Y, and Z. So I'm about to take us all over the place. I don't even think that the Gen Nexters were expecting me to go here with regards to, hey, just talk about, career
Yeah.
readiness and success. There are two schools on that list, right? Howard
Mm-hmm.
University and Tuskegee University that are in the
Mm-hmm.
news.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think it says of the Howard University brand? By the way, Amari Jangha is a marketing specialist, so this should be an easy one for him. Um, what do you think it says about Howard University's brand that even with well, just to catch people up who have not been caught up, a couple of weeks ago or sometime June, July, I think July, not June, July, some students, I think it was about 500 students were unenrolled, and these were incoming freshmen, so class of 2030. Incoming freshmen were unenrolled, and it was a big national media issue. There was a
Mm-hmm.
young lady who brought a lot of attention to it. She was in tears, pleading. Howard University had several responses, clarifying their end of it and clarifying their stand on why they had to do things the way they did. Quick Google search, a quick Howard University search will get you the facts to the story. I'm sure, a PR crisis, a public relations crisis for
Yeah.
those who had to deal with it, because whatever the facts are, the reality is you saw a bunch of incoming freshmen on socials in tears. And
Mm-hmm.
so your national media started picking that up and talking about it, and it generated its own opinions amongst several thousands of people,
Yeah.
to the point that you've got presidents of other institutions in New York, in the southern states, saying, those of you who were unenrolled, we got space for you here. It was a big deal.
Yeah.
I wanted to paint that picture because it's not just a bad PR snafu. It was a PR crisis for Howard University at the time. Yet, when the rankings came out shortly thereafter, Howard University still ranks number one or within the top five of almost any lists you will see. I don't care if it's US News and World Report. I don't care if it's Forbes. I don't care if it's LinkedIn. Almost any national ranking list, Howard is either going to be number one or within the top five. Why? From a marketing specialist, why do you think
Yeah.
that's still the case?
I think, and this ties to a quote that I heard a while ago when I was at a conference when I was in school at Morgan National Treasure. And a gentleman had said to me that people don't really understand the difference, and it's a huge chasm between the facts and the story, because it's very, very easy to get caught up in a story. That's why the entertainment industry is so big as it is. The
Yeah.
stories is what makes people enthralled and engaged, and it makes them want to come back, and it makes them want to have share their own opinion. But the facts aren't as enticing. And so the metrics of them having a strong ROI, or having a lot of Pell Grant recipients, or having a lot of people who graduate to go into long careers, and whatever the metrics may be for the list that they're ranking well in, they aren't getting that story out because they're being dominated by the students who have a lot more access to a lot of different networks in that kind of social space. And so I think this is just a big example of how facts and story can be so different, but how the story is almost always going to be more popular than what the facts may or may not be.
So I love the way you presented that facts versus story. And as I'm sitting here as a somewhat struggling podcaster, and I say struggling because listen, we'd love all of our ventures to be funded at amazing rates. I took it personal. And guys, hear me out, because I think you should take it personal too. That is what Amari just said. And anyone listening, please take this part personal. So as Amari was talking, and he talked about the ROI that Howard University has on the table, and the fact that as much as we get sprinkles of that story, we don't get it at this level of attention as Howard University unenrolled 500 students. We don't get it at that level. But if Howard University shows up every single day, making sure that they are building the substance for which those metrics will be measured someday for that return on investment, for those listening that are like, what is an ROI? For the return on investment,
Yes, thank you.
for crying out loud, one day, one days, there's going to be a balance whereby the name that you've built will stand the test of time. That's what I heard from what you just said with regards to facts versus story. And I said I took it personal because when I tell you every other day, and my team behind the screen is screaming right now because they're like, is she going to say it? Yeah, she's going to say it. Every other day, I want to quit.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Every other day, I want to quit. And then we'll get another guest. We are at the place now where we actually don't go knocking down hard on doors for guests, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
We will get another guest sending us, hey, I'd love to be on your podcast. Hey, I'd love us to have a conversation on your podcast. So maybe after that becomes the norm based on the name that we're building, then comes the revenue and the ventures. So I took us down a side road for a hot second. I'm going to bring us back now to the
Awesome.
main road that we were on. But
I'm
listen,
right
if
there with
you're
you.
listening, thank you very much. If you're listening, I invite you to take it personally, and I invite you to be encouraged by what Amari said in his analogy of why Howard University still ranks as number one on a lot of these rankings, regardless of some of the major PR crises that occur. Because still on the main road,
Hmm.
speaking of that public relations crisis, I don't know if you got. I got in the weeds of the comments, and I normally don't, but I got in the weeds of the comments, and it was interesting, encouraging, dare I say, when I read a number of people reminding all of us that Howard University is still a business. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, this is an institution that has stood the test of time. Number three, these things are going to happen. So for the ones in the comments who are like, here we go again, there might be something else coming out next year. These things, I
Fair.
hope not. I hope not.
No, that's fair though. That's a fair assessment.
These
We
things
do
are
cross
going
our
to,
fingers.
we cross our fingers. These things are going to happen. And it's important not to let that deter your pathway. It's important for you to remember that Howard University is still graduating some of the most prepared students for career success post college. So, okay. The other institution that made a lot of news, actually, the president of that institution made a lot of news because it was announced that there was a ban on durags and bonnets. Can we talk about it?
I've seen it.
As Amari brings
I've
out
seen
his
it.
durag.
My one prop for the episode. I figured I had this prepared.
I absolutely love it. That's another story, if you will.
Yeah.
That's not bringing into question the rankings of the institution, but that's another story, if you will, that caught, like it just caught fire all over the place, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
To the point that, and pardon me to all the listeners if this does not land well, but to the point that people started using it to question acceptance of Black culture. And
Yeah.
I felt slightly offended if we're reducing the wearing of bonnets and durags to a lack of acceptance of Black culture. So does that mean if I am against durags and bonnets, I'm against Black culture? I read a lot of those comments and I was like, is it me? Let's say it's me. And if it's me, Lord have mercy, I want my definition of culture to be broader than durags and bonnets. But before I go on a forever soapbox on this, I'm curious, as somebody who he just showed us his durag, guys, as somebody who wears durags, what were your thoughts on hearing the president, not hearing, reading the president announce this ban for Tuskegee University?
Okay, I'm going to make a very specific reference to a animated film, and I assure you, it's the only one I can use that'll make this make sense. In the, I believe, 2004 film Ratatouille, there's a scene where the food critic Ego takes a bite of a food, and then it takes him in a flashback throughout a lot of his lifetime and a lot of the lessons he learned, the things he experienced. For me personally, when I read that message that I saw, I have my own series of flashbacks to my own experiences about me wearing a durag, wearing it in public, being professional, being called all sorts of things because of what I chose not to wear.
Hmm.
And so it was interesting because my thoughts on the subjects as a wearer myself have evolved quite a bit. I remember very vividly when I was in high school getting in quite a few discussions with some of my administrators and teachers about how it didn't really matter. I just need to keep my waves fresh. You wouldn't get it. You're bald. So it's different things that I had not kindly said, but were true. Again, fact versus story. And being able to navigate that sort of understanding of there is a perception of yourself when you step out into the world. And that I had to learn about myself as my own personal brand through some other stories and other lessons. And navigating that and understanding that I have a brand and there's a way I want to present my brand. And my brand, when I got to university, did not want to, in certain spaces, wear those do-rags. And so that I would go out to go get something from the refac or go get something from the mailroom, but I didn't feel like brushing my hair and doing all that stuff. I would just keep the do-rag on, go grab something, step back in. But I wouldn't wear it necessarily to class or to a meeting or to a conference or something where I wanted to present myself in a more of a professional space. So I was more of a contextual, nuance sort of individual about that in the college space. And now that I post-grad, I don't really feel the need. I try to make sure I stay clean and professionally every time I step out the house now.
So I think thanks for taking us down the ratatouille hole.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I actually think a lot of people will probably be in the same space with you, whereas it's very contextual and it's nuanced. Which begs the question for me, did they have to make it a ban?
So this is where I actually did a little bit of small, brief research myself.
Okay.
And I think because of the fact that from what I saw, the nature of the consequences aren't too severe, I think that it is the eye opener that might be needed on that campus. Now, I've never been to Tuskegee's campus. I've never interacted with a student on that campus. I've only seen students away from campus in professional settings. They always look dapper. So I'm not sure what that messaging may be in terms of the context of how that's being presented and reviewed and delivered. But to my viewpoint from where I am all over here in Baltimore, it would seem like that would be a move to be made to make sure people are aware of it, more so than making it an actual punishable crime with people getting suspended and expelled and having their grades revoked, things of that nature.
So I appreciate that, and I found that out as well that it's a ban. And for
Yes.
those who are not watching, I put the word ban in quotes because what are the actual consequences, right? And I felt that it was bringing attention again. Like you, Amari, I have been to Tuskegee's campus, but not recently enough,
Hmm.
not enough to observe how the students show up to class every single day for this to
Right.
have become a thing. In my brain, I would have probably without before the whole Bangate, no, before
Oh.
the whole ban situation came out, I would have made the assumption that on average, students at most colleges, but definitely HBCUs, probably show up in bonnets and do-rags on average at the same rate or at the same that's just my assumption because I see do-rags and bonnets on several HBCU campuses and not just in reference to Tuskegee. The reason why I asked why the ban Was that necessary? And only the president and his team can answer that question. Is Doesn't it end up boiling down? And it's why I got slightly like taken aback when some people equated that to how one receives black culture.
Hmm.
Um, doesn't it become an individual thing? I love the way you described how you were fighting for the durag before you came to college, but then when you got to college, you made the decision that you had to ask yourself, is this how I want to be received? And is this how I want to then show up in order to be received a certain way? I don't think that's what this particular conversation was about. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I heard a clip recently with Michelle Obama, former
Okay.
First Lady, and she had simply made the statement that whether we like it or not, and I think this goes without saying, and again it's why I was taken aback by the equating of the durag and the bonnets to black culture by some people. Back to Michelle Obama, whether we like it or not, you are going to be judged by the way you present yourself. And I'm not quoting her word for word, but if you go looking, there's an interview that she did recently, and there's this clip that's going around, and I think people are putting that together with the durag thing. I don't think that's what she was talking about, but it does go back to that, right?
Hmm.
Um, and if that's true, which it is, then it becomes an individual decision. It becomes Amari. No offense, sir, but the likelihood of you being hired as the chief marketing officer for Goldman Sachs, showing up to the interview in a durag, it's very, very slim. Hey, listen, it's very, very slim. And if that's where you aspire to go and be, then you might want to consider retiring your durag to specific spaces and not
Yep.
everywhere. I think that's what it was getting at, but it just became this really, really, really big conversation. Nonetheless, they're still in that top 10 list. They're number 6 on that
Yes, yes,
list.
indeed. And there go the facts, and there go the stories.
There goes the facts, and there goes the story. They're still number 6, guys, on LinkedIn News's top 10 HBCUs for long term career success. Um, I've been out of the career search market for a while now.
Hmm.
I'd say you've been closer to it than not, since you are less than 5 years out, right? From college,
Indeed. Yes.
beautiful. What tips would you have? A incoming freshman is seeing all of this, right? And then they're seeing that top 10 list. Oh, Tosin, this is shady, but I'm going to go there. But they're seeing
I'm
that
ready.
they're seeing that top 10 list, and their school is not on that list. But they've made the decision, they're there. I want you to give me 3 tips you would give a freshman. It's easier to give the tips to the seniors who are about to graduate, but
Hmm.
I think it's actually more productive to give the tips to the freshmen who are just coming in, because 4 years goes by like this. Even if you end up graduating in 5 or 6 years, trust me, it goes by in the blink of an eye. What
Hmm.
should freshmen be thinking about right now as they are going to college, in preparation for them being ready for whatever career they're going to find themselves in when they graduate? Go.
Well, luckily, I am in a very similar situation. My little brother is an incoming freshman
Nice.
at the wonderful Bowie State University. So I have been having some conversations of this nature with him. I don't know if he's receiving all of them, but I am trying to get to him. And so I'll deliver some of those to the cast to see if maybe the pod will be able to pick it up a little bit more. The first one is work towards a plan if you don't have one. And I think that's important to denote because I see a lot and I saw a lot and I felt even myself when I was a freshman, you would see people with a plan, and if you didn't have one, you would feel sort of lost, and you would just kind of be in this limbo of, well, once it comes to me and I figure it out, then I can start moving, or I can start doing stuff, I can start working towards it. But without that direction to get towards the plan, you can really get stuck in that space of limbo and be idle for a really long time and miss out on opportunities that you would have been able to take advantage of had you have been intentional with your process, your steps, your movement, whatever, your motion, as the kids say. And so the first thing I would say is make sure you're working towards a plan if you don't have one, because I think that gets lost in a lot of people when they're trying to figure out what their next steps may be in the immediate future for the semester and then the long-term future for the senior year, and then beyond graduation, they get kind of lost in the grand scheme of everything. My second thing would be try to be as prepared as possible at all times. And that is something that can be very difficult to navigate when you're exploring new environments for the very first time. So it's hard to figure out what resources are necessary to be successful in certain places if you haven't been there before. But use your first time to figure out what you need the next time. And then keep doing that over and over again, and you'll eventually find yourself in a much more familiar space to be able to conquer new environments because you have experience conquering those based on your past experiences. So that can be very, very helpful for you as you navigate different areas and you don't know how to move forward. You have the preparedness of whatever resources you needed beforehand to be able to move accordingly and appropriately. And my third thing, I'll keep it at 3 things for now. We can kind of expand on these later. But my third thing would be don't assume anything. I see a very presumptuous youth behind me, and I can't sit here and say I don't make assumptions myself. I do more than I should, unfortunately. But making presumptions can be very, very dangerous, and it can lead you to go, to quote one of my favorite artists, Jermaine Cole, J. Cole is a stage name. The good news is you went a long way. The bad news is you went the wrong way. And so when you make an assumption, you can think, okay, I'm going to think this and I'll go, and you can go really, really far. But because you made an assumption at the very first step, you're miscalibrated and you went off in the wrong direction. So now you have to then undo that, recalibrate, and then self-correct. And so avoiding the assumption in the first place makes a lot of that work a lot easier in the back end because you're just making sure you're clear on your direction moving forward. So I'll stop over there, and then I saw you taking notes. Do you have any questions,
Of
comments,
course.
deep dives? Let's break it down.
Is it easy to tell that I'm taking notes as the guest is talking?
No. I just know you. I know you.
Because and I'm glad I asked that in real time because I don't want it to seem as if I'm not paying attention. I'm actually really paying attention, and I'm writing things because this lovely brain of mine won't recall every single thing she wants to ask. First thing I wanted to ask is, especially the assumptions bit. I want to
Yeah.
hear an example of an assumption you've made.
You're gonna get me in trouble, Dr. Toast. Okay, let me think of something safe. I'll give it in 3 different categories.
Okay.
It was all within my junior year, if I'm not mistaken. It was a professional assumption, a social assumption, and academic assumption.
I love it. Let's
Those
go.
are the very general gist of how people interact with student lifestyle.
Nice. Okay.
Did you have one you
All right,
wanted to hear
guys.
first?
I hope you're listening. Pardon?
Did you have one you wanted to hear first?
Just throw them all at me.
We'll go alphabetical order. Okay, academic. So for the school assumption, we had been given an assignment, and this was I think a global marketing course. So it was about, we had to pick a country and then roll out a new product in that country based on the environment that country was in. So my country was India. I remember that very, very vividly because I was like, oh, all these people, this is going to be a cakewalk. Light work. And I'll spare the details because I don't remember them, but I had assumed incorrectly that we were going to be launching the product in India on this time's table, like within the next year or whatever. So I done my whole project on the assumption that we were going to be doing it this time. And I assumed it because I wasn't present at the class that he had explained it. So I just, instead of asking clarification, I just assumed, I was at a conference somewhere in Texas. So I just assumed like, okay, this is what's going to be happening. Or even ask my peers or classmates, anything. I'd say, yeah, this is how it's going to go down. I said, okay, it's going to be great. And I remember very vividly, I love this person. His first words were, this is great, but what is this? And I said, oh, those are not the words you want to hear when you turn in an assignment that you spent a month working on. Because every other part of the project that we were discussing in class, I was doing correctly. I just was doing it on the basis of launching it in India in this time frame for this product.
Okay.
Now, again, sparing the details, that was not the case. So I had to, in the last weekend, undo all that I had done, reposition it in the correct parameters of the project, and then redo it. It wasn't the end of the world because it was just repositioning, but it just took a lot of extra time. And I could have avoided that if I had just said, hey, are we doing it in this timetable on this country and this product? And he would have said, no, you're doing it like this. And I would have, oh, okay. And I would have had a much smoother process with that project, which was a very good learning experience. Next would be professional. I would say I was interning at an institution, a local community institution. And we had been doing events at one branch of this institution for consistently, a very consistent amount of time, I'll say. It had always been this branch at this time, this branch at this time, this branch at this time. Now, because I was an intern, I was part-time, so I wasn't in the office every day. And so as a result of that, they were having discussions on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I'm in class. And if I'm not on that email thread, I'm not going to be aware of whatever change is happening. If I'm not asking them, they're going to assume that I'm already aware because I'm, whatever the case may be, or they're just not thinking about whatever. So I had assumed that the event was at this location at this time, as it had always been. There had been some HVAC issues with the building next door, so that branch was unavailable. I have no HVAC knowledge whatsoever about anything going on. So I show up, everything is taped up and closed off. I'm like, oh, the event must have been canceled. Everything's closed. The event must have been canceled. They just freed up 2 hours of my time going back home. I can do some more homework and enjoy myself. And I then got some emails and phone calls letting me know that that was not the case. That was a wrong assumption. I should have asked, hey, I see this is closed. Is everything okay? Instead of assuming that everything was closed and canceled or postponed or whatever I had assumed. And so the materials that I had that I was bringing to the event weren't present because they were at home with me. It was some flyers. They already had more. I was responsible as an intern. They knew not to give me that whole responsibility. So I had the extras that I wasn't able to bring to them. And so they had to
It
share a couple
gets
of copies and they
better.
were able to manage it. But regardless, a bad assumption. Lastly would be social. I would say the one I'll give, because there are quite a few, is, and I'll give a recurring one, is assuming that plans will or will not happen based on getting or not getting a response. So this is a very, very common occurrence in my friend. Like if we're saying, hey, we're going to meet up for refac or canteen or whatever at 6 p.m. on Thursday, by Thursday, 3 p.m. you don't hear anything, we're assuming it's still good to go. But that might not always be the case. So there are, I'm not going to ramble, but there are a plethora of stories that I could give of meeting people in a different area they're not supposed to be at, or somebody showing up, somebody not showing up, and just unnecessary melodrama and rigmarole that didn't have to happen if we only just asked or communicated instead of assuming things of that nature.
Listening to all of your stories, I really feel old.
Oh,
Yes, yeah, and anyone who is in their 40s, I think, is going to understand me. Don't take this the wrong way.
bring it on.
So, as I listened to each and every story roll out, there was a whole lot of, in my head, I'm saying it out loud now, but in my head, there was a whole lot of what common sense would tell you to
Yes,
check.
and that's growth.
Okay,
I've grown. Yeah, I would never make any of those same mistakes again.
okay.
And those are very
So, so
isolated
here's
events.
so so here's my question to your generation and below.
Oh
Okay,
goodness. Okay.
because no one told us that common sense. We just kind of it just okay. I gonna use your HVAC example. I showed up. This is odd. This is where I was given to go. Okay, let me quickly call somebody. Hey guys, is this place, is it still happening? Before I make the decision to roll out and just keep the
Mm-hmm.
materials in my
Mm-hmm.
house. And it's where my generation, again, 40s, and all the generations below, or I think those in their 30s will be on my page as well. I think it's the 20s and below. It just weird so disconnected when it comes to that because for us it's literally just a no-brainer of they're just some things that you're going to quickly check off in your head before you kind of like beelined to the assumption of
Yes.
I guess it got canceled, I guess it's not
Yes.
happening. And in all quote unquote fairness to you, listening to your examples, I was like, yeah, so that's not just an Amari thing. I've actually observed that occur with a lot of people in a particular age range, not knocking them. I'm just at a loss as to why there isn't this immediate, let me check first before beelining to, I guess I get a free afternoon, or I guess I get,
I do know now. Yes, I do know now. Yes, very much so. I'm definitely on the same page as you now as I'm in more responsibility in my position. I definitely would never make that mistake again. That's happened before. Things have been changed last minute. I had to figure out in real time what the change had been. But yeah, at the time, it was just a matter of carelessness. To be completely honest with you, there wasn't a sense of self responsibility to be that thorough, and so the easiest path was often the path that was chosen, or in terms of physics, I think is the path of least resistance. I think that's what
path of
currents
least
choose.
resistance.
And so for me, I knew if I had called, if I didn't think about it, but I still constantly knew if I had called somebody and got an answer about where to go, I would have had to figure out how to get there. I would have had to get there. I would have had to do the event. But if I had just saw that it was close, took my picture to validate it, and then walked off back to my living quarters, that's a very simple and calm rest of the afternoon.
And you know what's amazing about your generation and below? The fact that you took that picture, that's all you need. You took the picture, it
Oh
was
yeah, I'm clear.
proof, you're cleared. So I want to give two, and I'm couching it as for those not in the top 10. It applies to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But there's several entities that are not in the top 10 that deserve to be in the top 10 if you ask me. I don't think there should be any rankings, but who am I? They've got to sell these stories one way or another, even if it's just by eyeballs. And I'm going to steal this, or borrow rather, from one of our past guests, the one of the vice presidents for Salesforce, Jackie Chambers de Freitas. I love her name.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she said, "Life isn't fair," and I loved that. Why am I using that as one of the things that I think each incoming freshman should remember? I'm going to say the rest of it my way. Life isn't fair, so get over decisions that don't work your way quickly. No one is saying that it shouldn't affect you, but don't sit in it for too long. Because sitting in it for too long, I promise you, it robs you of the necessary energy you need to
Yep.
do something else that's probably going to set you apart. So if you remember at all times that Tosin and Amari went for the same position and Amari got it, it doesn't always mean Amari was better. It just means it's Amari's turn right now. For whatever the metrics, whatever the qualities are that they're looking for, it's Amari's turn. It does not help Tosin to sit there literally pondering for a very long time how and why did Amari get this and not me. You can ponder that for 2 seconds, maybe five, but please quickly move on so that your energy can be used elsewhere. The second one that I want to give to incoming freshmen, please stay connected to people and friends outside of the institution that you are attending. There will be so many opportunities that you're going to find out about at your institution, beautiful. But there are going to be so many more opportunities that you're going to find out about if you just stay connected to the people and friends that did not go to the same institution as you did. There is such beauty in the synergy of interchanging the opportunities from one to the next. And they don't all have to be HBCUs. Stay connected with your friends. All of you are graduating. All of you are graduating. Not all of you are going to the same institution. If you liked them even just a little bit while you were in high school together, stay in touch with them. Amari, that's the episode for us. We started with this beautiful list of 10. I'm going to put you on the spot. If you were to make
Okay.
your own list of 10, ooh,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And of course, if we're going to make our own list of 10, it's not going to be based on any real metrics, but go
At
ahead.
all.
Go
Okay.
ahead. What's your list of 10? And I'm going to give my list of 10 as well. Gosh, I'm scared about giving it
So
in
so
particular
this is
order.
actually interesting. I'm going to give my 10 off a very specific subjective metric of students I've interacted with from the universities at different events.
That's actually a really good metric coming from a student, most recent graduate. Go ahead. Let's
Because
hear
I've been
it.
to a few different symposiums and conferences, and I've met a lot of different people, and I've noticed like small brands. Now, granted, it's because they all came to the same event together. So they all kind of brought that
Of
energy in the
course,
same
of
space.
course. I'm
But
I'm
I
gonna
did
cheat.
notice that space.
I'm gonna cheat and
Cool.
start writing mine down as you're saying yours. Go ahead. I'm
Okay, fun.
listening.
Okay. Number one, bias, no bias at all. Morgan State University. I think it's
He attended Morgan. Like, come on. No bias at all. No bias at all.
no
Morgan State
pure
University.
facts. Yeah, no
Pure
stories, pure
facts.
facts.
Morgan. Absolutely.
Yes, yes, the national treasure. I do think because I have, and in all fairness, a lot of bias. I have the most experience with Morgan State students and Morgan State's career readiness programs
Of
and
course.
initiatives, and
Of
seeing those
course.
students in different spaces. I have a lot of experience with that as well. So I've seen a lot of that, and that quality and quantity together makes them number one. Number two for me would be North Carolina A&T, the Aggie Pride. Every time they come together. They have swag I've never seen before. I mean, they come in these fancy cardigans, and one of them had A&T sunglasses. I said, "Well, you got A&T sunglasses? Do you have Morgan sunglasses?" Like, they know how to bring it together, and that's just the aesthetic of on top of the structure and technical skills that they always bring whenever I interact with them. So, I guess technical is in the name, but they really do bring those skills to the university. And so, all 10, three, I would actually say, and this is recency bias, but Lincoln University.
Lincoln University, PA, because they're two.
Lincoln
There's
University,
Lincoln University,
PA.
PA.
Yes,
There's
the first one, the first HBCU,
the first
the
HBCU.
first one. Yeah, yeah. They have always come correct, and with a positive chip on their shoulder. I think they recognize as the oldest one, there's a bit more responsibility there to kind of represent in a more elegant and astounding way.
I
And I
love
think they
it.
do that quite well.
So we've got Morgan, we've got North Carolina A&T,
Hmm.
Lincoln University, PA. What's your
Yes.
number four?
Four would be Howard.
Okay.
Four would be
Howard
Howard
Howard made it to
University.
your list. Okay,
Howard
Howard.
made it to my list. They did. My sister graduated from there. I have a lot of family from there, so I have a lot more visibility into what they're doing and how they're on an individual level helping their students. My sister got a lot of support from them in some ways, and so they were around on my phone. And the students always come correct.
They do. They
The
do.
Howard students come
They
correct
do.
to and when I was in school to an annoying degree. Like, guys, let's calm down. Like, let's like matching ties, matching collar.
They
Let's
don't
calm down.
play.
No,
They
they
don't
don't. They do
play.
really well. They do really, really well. That's five, is it? Is that
That
five?
is
My fifth one?
four. Howard is number
Jesus
four.
Christ. Okay, I'm on five. I'm on five. I'm on five. I'm on five. I would say, ooh, where did Javier go? So, I can't. I wish I could remember the full. It's in Texas. It's a small school in Texas. I think it's like Texas Christian. I wish I could remember the name. But the three students I met from this symposium who were from that school were phenomenal.
So there's Prairie View A&M University. There
Mm-mm.
is okay.
Hold on, let me see. It was.
Wow.
I might be able to find it. Hold on, hold on,
He's
hold on.
he's he's he wants to be accurate with
I do
regards to
because
his number
there was
five.
one
Mind you,
individual in the.
I think we're just gonna round it up at five because trying to get a
I was
top 10
praying
out of
for it.
you.
Yeah, no, 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 no. I'm praying for a five because I thought I was on five already at this point.
Trying to get a 10 out of you is like pulling teeth. Lord have mercy. What I love about what Amari is doing, by the way, and I'm going to wait until he finishes before I say this, because if I say
Jarvis
this,
Christian,
Jarvis Christian,
Jarvis Christian University. Yep. My apologies for the delay there.
no worries. Amari's top five: Morgan State University, North Carolina A&T, Lincoln University of Pennsylvania, Howard University, and Jarvis Christian. I think it's Jarvis Christian University, or is it Jarvis Christian College? I hope I'm
I barely got
it's
the Jarvis
Jarvis
Christian,
it's
Dr. Johnson.
We know it's Jarvis Christian. We know it's Jarvis Christian. I think it is fair for me not to give my list. I think it's actually fair for us to stick with your list. I do. Because if I
You
give
can't
my
round out a
list,
quick five?
I could rattle off a 10. I could
Oh, yeah,
rattle off a
actually. Yeah.
25. I could
Yeah.
rattle off. Howard is my number one, though. I'm also a Howard alum. Let's be clear.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
and then Kentucky State University is going to make a showing there because that's where I did my
Of
first
course.
degree. Howard is my master's and my doctorate. So, and I've got a few others. Morgan would make the list. Like I've got a good 25. There's FAMU, there's Prairie View
Oh, yeah.
A&M, there's Lincoln. Like, so we're going to stick with your five. And to
Cool.
remind everyone of Amari's top five: Morgan State University, North Carolina A&T, Lincoln University of Pennsylvania, Howard University, and Jarvis Christian. And he's based his on his engagement with the students that he has met from those institutions. On that note, Amari, this has been a beautiful summer. This has been a great summer episode. I'm looking forward to everything else that we've got brewing for I Love
Hmm.
My HBCU question mark. Yours and HBCU love. I look forward to seeing you and everybody else next episode. Thanks, Amari.
Thank you very much for having me.
You've been listening to I Love My HBCU question mark. Let's keep the conversation going as we share our stories and encourage more practical support of HBCUs, whilst of course holding each other accountable. Don't forget to follow and subscribe for the latest episodes. Until next time, love and lift your HBCU.